Welcome back to the Junk Room, everybody. It's the Junk Man. I'm back here to talk stupid junk. Now, I hadn't done a Star Wars video in a while, but don't worry, this one's not a Star Wars video either. Am I ever going to get back to talking about Star Wars? I mean, that's the junk I know, right? Well, I'll get back to it very soon. In fact, we're going to do a Kenner podcast this weekend. We're going to talk Star Wars on it. We're going to be talking about the history of Boba Fett. So we got a lot coming up. And I know most of you follow us at Star Wars Junk on Twitter or the Kenner's Toys on Twitter, but we've got a new one, That Junk Man. That's right, it's my personal Twitter account. You can get all these links at StarWarsJunk.net, but I'm really trying to push forward and do a little bit more than just Star Wars. So please, if you're on Twitter, follow us, That Junk Man on Twitter. I'll put a little bar down here or something so you'll know. But of course, we've got that and Star Wars Junk and Kenner Junk and all kinds of junk. But what are we going to talk about today? Well, I had two topics. One, my car collection. I thought I'll show everybody my car collection. Now I know what you're thinking. How can a simple man like me that lives in toys collect cars? Well, truth is, it's toy cars, Hot Wheel cars. I collect movie-related Hot Wheel cars, movies and TV shows, and got a little collection I was going to bring for you. But I put a poll up on Twitter, and people wanted me to talk about this topic instead, although the poll is really close, so I'm sure I'll do the car topic very soon. So what are we going to talk about today? 10 movies that I don't think most people have seen, but you should see. Now, I'm not going to say that these are the 10 best movies ever, but these are 10 movies I really enjoy watching, and when I tell people about it, they have no idea what I'm talking about. They say they've never seen it, never heard of it. But most people watching this are probably bigger movie fans. They've probably heard at least 6 or 7 of these, but I bet you haven't heard of all 10. And if you have heard of all 10, I bet you haven't seen all 10. So we're going to go through all 10. This isn't a best of list. Number 1 might not be as good as number 8. Who knows? I just wanted to talk about these 10 movies that either I don't see people talk about. In fact, some on the list I don't even see. I can't even find them on Blu-ray or DVD or whatever you want to call it. I don't even think they're on VHS. So let's start out. This one's kind of more popular. I'm not wearing a Star Wars shirt today. I hope that's okay. I'm kind of going Magnum PI here. I figured I wasn't going to talk about Star Wars, so I'll put a Star Wars shirt on, right? And I'm going to play a little bit of Xbox, but as you can see, every disc I put in does that. Now, yes, I said Xbox, but I meant GameCube. I'm old school. I'm always Nintendo. I grew up Nintendo. Yeah, PlayStation games over. Okay, I'm rambling. That's what we do on the podcast, and that's what I'm doing here. But let's get back to the top 10 list. Now, growing up, my father loved Westerns. And every day, that's all I saw on TV was him watching cowboy movies, TV shows, Gunsmoke, Bonanza, The Rifleman, all these old classic cowboy shows, from Hopalong Cassidy to, I don't know, anything with John Wayne in it. And I know you're all going to say, well, he must be talking about some great Westerns like The Searchers or True Grit. Now, I love True Grit, don't get me wrong, and I love both versions of True Grit. And you might be thinking, well, he's talking about a real good Western like Unforgiven. Or maybe he's talking more 80s and talking about classic Westerns like Young Guns 1 and 2. Now, I did like Young Guns, but I never really got into the Western thing. Although my father watched it all the time, and I think my brother kind of got into the Westerns. I don't know. Maybe it's my age, because when I grew up, Star Wars hit me at about 5 years old, and ever since then, it was science fiction. It was everything but Westerns. Cowboys were old to me. My granddad loved cowboys, and my dad loved cowboys, and I was up in the stars. But this movie really got to me, and it's not really about anything much, and that's what I love about it. It's a character movie. And this movie stars the great John Wayne. And I know what you're thinking. There's a lot of great John Wayne movies, and this is probably not on your list. It might be. And that's a movie called Rio Bravo. I love this. It also stars Dean Martin. That's right, from the Rat Pack. Dean Martin plays an alcoholic cowboy in this film. And also Rick Nelson. You know, the little kid from the Ozzie and Harriet TV show. The guy that sung Garden Party and Mary Lou and all those hit songs from he was a teen idol, so they had him in it. So it's a weird cast. You got John Wayne, and you got Dean Martin, and you got Rick Nelson. And it's more of just the characters more than anything else. It's kind of like the one of my favorite Quentin Tarantino movies is Jackie Brown. Just because I can just sit there and watch these guys talk back and forth through the whole movie. Sure, the plot's kind of a little hard to follow sometimes, but the whole thing about Jackie Brown is the characters of the movie. Just hearing them talk to each other. And that's kind of how Rio Bravo is to me. It's a character film. You're not going in for the action or the plot or the story. You're going in to see John Wayne, Dean Martin, Ricky Nelson, all back and forth. And probably the best one that I forgot was Walter Brenham, who played Stumpy. He kind of walks with a limp, and he is hilarious in this movie. And you got Angie Dickinson. Who can't watch Rio Bravo, anything with Angie Dickinson, without kind of falling in love? Now, if you've never seen this, again, this is probably one of the mainstream films on the list. But I think anyone probably under 30 that's really not a Western buff or movie buff may not have caught this film. So if you're out there watching this and you've never seen Rio Bravo, check it out. I'm sure it's on America's Movie Classic and stuff. It comes on TV about once a month, but sadly, I looked on Netflix the other night. I couldn't find on Netflix or Hulu anywhere streaming it. So, if you get a chance to buy it or see it, check it out. Rio Bravo.
I told you to get back in there. And then getting told off yourself.
Okay, number 9. And this is a movie, I'm going to say I love it, but I haven't seen this movie since the early 80s. This is one of those I can't find on DVD. Now, it might be out there, but it's not one I walk into Best Buy or Walmart and see sitting on a shelf. Maybe if I looked around the internet, I might be able to find it, but I've never ever seen this on DVD. I don't even remember seeing it on VHS, but HBO used to show it all the time back in the 80s. And it stars David Carradine, you know, the brother of Keith Carradine from Kill Bill. You might know David Carradine also from the Revenge of the Nerds movies. He was the main nerd. And it also stars Linda Hamilton, who we all know from the Terminator films. So what is this? It's called Tag, the Assassination Game. Now, like I said, I haven't seen this movie in probably over 20 years, maybe even more, maybe 25, maybe pushing 30. So this is what I remember about it, is that it's a group of college kids. They play this kind of game where they have the plastic gun, the toy gun that shoots those rubber darts. I don't know what they're called. There's a dart with a rubber tip on the end. They stick to the wall. But from what I remember, these college kids would play this game called Tag, the Assassination Game. Each person would get a character, a student from the school, and they would have to go find him. They would, let's say, if Bill gets a booklet and he opens it up and there's a guy named John in it, he finds John, has to sneak up on him and shoot him. And then he takes his book and uses that book to go after whoever John was going after. So I just thought it was always a cool little concept. I mean, it sounded great. I wanted to play this, but of course I didn't have enough friends to make it any fun. But during this game, there turns out to be a real killer. Someone in the movie is actually killing these students. They turned the game into a real assassination game. It was a lot of fun to watch back in the 80s. Again, I don't know if it holds up. I don't know if I was just little and thought it was good. It might be one of the worst movies ever made. But I did look on the Internet Movie Database. It has a rating of 6. So it's not horrible, I don't think. I really got to see this again. So, especially if you're into those really cheesy 80s movies like Revenge of the Nerds or something like that that really screams 80s at you, check this out. Again, it's called Tag, the Assassination Game.
Stop him! Please, he's trying to kill me!
Okay, number 8. And this is the first time I ever saw Michael J. Fox. I know what you're thinking. What, Back to the Future is on your list? Come on, everybody's seen that. What are you thinking? Or are you thinking, oh, you're going to talk about the 2-hour movie of Family Ties when they went to Europe? No, I'm not talking about that. This was before Family Ties. This was before Back to the Future. And not only is Michael J. Fox in this movie, so is Paul Reubens, a.k.a. Pee Wee Herman. Of course, he's not playing Pee Wee Herman, and this was probably out before Pee Wee Herman. At least, maybe he was doing the character Pee Wee Herman, but it was out before, I was going to say Big Top Pee Wee. Nobody gives a shit about Big Top Pee Wee. This was out long before Big Adventure. Pee Wee's Big Adventure. I don't know why I drew a blank on it. And it stars the guy that I can't think of his name right now, and I'm sorry, but I always known this guy as the Dr. Pepper guy. You remember that guy? I'm a pepper, you're a pepper. Don't you want to be a Dr. Pepper too? Remember that? The Dr. Pepper guy? He's mostly known as the main star from American Werewolf in London. That's probably where most of you know him from. The name of this movie is Midnight Madness. Again, it's one of those cheesy, corny, 80s, I guess, teen college kid movies. I think there's another one called Up the Creek that I used to watch back then. It's not on my list, sorry if you're an Up the Creek fan. This was Midnight Madness. And what the story is, I think there's 4 groups. There's a red group, a yellow group, maybe an orange group. I don't remember all the other colors. I remember there was some genius nerd that set it all up. And it's a scavenger hunt. Each team would get a clue. They would have to use that clue to find the next clue. Like, I remember they would get this clue about the stars, and they went to the astrometer, and they looked in this telescope, and they aimed a telescope at a certain place, and it gave them another code. Gave them another clue, and they went and tracked down that clue and went to another one. It was a lot of fun. Again, this is one I haven't seen in a while. Now, I do own this on VHS, I think. I think I've seen it here and there on DVD, so it is out there, but it's not something you see on TV anymore. But back in the 80s, it was one that was on HBO all the time. And one of my favorite characters in this movie is a guy I don't know, but he is a nerd, and he plays a nerd in everything. He was in War Games. You remember when David Lightman went to talk to the expert computer programmers, and there was that really nerdy looking guy there? He's in this movie too. I always love that guy. I mean, he always plays like the same character, but look at him. He's got to play a nerd. I mean, what else could he play? Could he play James Bond? I doubt that. But again, it's called Midnight Madness. And if you're out there flipping around on TV one night and you see it, or you're at your video store, I just aged myself. Who goes to a damn video store anymore? If you're looking online or somewhere and you see Midnight Madness, download it, rent it, buy it, whatever. I don't know. I doubt it's in a red box somewhere, but get it. It's called Midnight Madness, and it's a lot of fun to watch.
I can't believe this. I can't believe what I said.
I've had enough of this. I'm getting out of here.
Okay, we're at number 7, and this is another one I haven't seen in a long time, and I hope someone out there remembers it, because I see it as the original First Blood. It stars Linda Blair from The Exorcist. We all know Linda Blair, right? But it also stars one of the coolest guys in the 80s, the Face Man, Dirk Benedict, who we all know as the Face Man from the A-Team. And not only that, he was in the Battlestar Galactica TV show, the old 70s, 80s ones, not that remake stuff. Dirk Benedict. And this is just First Blood. From what I remember about it, I know he rides around on a motorcycle, and there's a lot of cool motorcycle stunts. But from what I remember, this is the storyline. He comes down to this small town, he's wearing his fatigues, he runs into a bunch of local bullies, they all give him a hard time. Then he causes a bunch of chaos, and there's a manhunt looking for him. I mean, it's the same story as First Blood. The first Rambo movie, which is an excellent movie. But this one was probably like the poor man's First Blood. And I actually think it came out a year or two before First Blood. So in a way, I guess First Blood copied this film, which is called Ruckus. I don't know. It's a stupid name. I don't know why they called it that. And this was at and this one on Internet Movie Base is 6.3. So we're all right around that 6-point range. So my memory's not as bad as I think. You know, I'm waiting for one of these movies to be horrible that I loved as a kid. You know, it happens. I loved Spaceballs as a kid, and I can't stand Spaceballs now. But if you get a chance, this is another one I've never seen on video. I've never seen on DVD. I never see it on TV anymore. Like I said, back in the 80s, back they used to show stuff. HBO, Cinemax. Everybody would show these movies over and over again. I guess they didn't have that much to show back then as they do now. So check it out. It's called Ruckus, if you can ever run across it. Okay, number 6. This one's a more recent movie, or at least recent to me. It's in the 2000s, 2003. This came out to the theater. It didn't make much of an impact. It came and went. I went to see it. I loved it. I even have a poster of it that's autographed by all the stars in it. I really thought this was a good movie, and it just kind of kills me that no one ever talks about it. And it's got big name stars in it. It stars Dustin Hoffman, Rachel Weisz, Edward Burns, Andy Garcia. I mean, it's got like an all-star cast. And it's got my favorite actor of all times. I love Paul Giamatti. Anything he's in, I love it. The movie Sideways is probably my top 5 best movies ever that I love. So what is this one called? Confidence. Did anyone see Confidence out there? I never hear anyone talk about it. I never see it on TV. It just came and went. And again, on the movie database, it's got a 6.7. So it's not like it's hated by everybody. It's not like it's got a 2 or a 3. This is a con artist movie. And I've always been a fan of the con artist movie, especially if you don't see it coming. Something like The Usual Suspects is a good con movie. What was another one? I watched just another good con movie I watched the other day, and I can't remember the name of it. Oh, Matchstick Men with Nicolas Cage. I know everybody gives Nicolas Cage a hard time, but he's done some good stuff. And I love Matchstick Men because I didn't see the con coming. I knew it was a con movie. But let's get back to Confidence. This Dustin Hoffman is great in this. He actually plays a kind of weird, I think he's a strip club owner. Again, some of these movies I haven't seen in a long time, but he's really narcissistic. He's kind of weird. He's got these little tics. It's a whole con, and of course, you know, every con movie is going to have a twist, and they got me, and when I went to see it, I didn't see it coming. But I'm just surprised with, you know, Dustin Hoffman, Edward Byrne, Rachel Weisz, Paul Giamatti, that you don't hear anything about this movie. That it just came and went in 2003. I fell in love with it. I probably haven't seen it in about 10 years, so I need to go back and rewatch it. But I love this movie, and I'm just going to put it on the list in case someone's out there and they love those con movies and they didn't hear of it either. So check it out, Confidence.
You're a good grifter, man. It's hard to tell when you're lying.
Now, we started this list off with Westerns, and I said then I wasn't really into Western movies. Well, number 5 is going to be a Western also, but it's a comedy, and it is so damn stupid that it's funny. And this is another one. It used to be on TBS back in the 80s all the time. Back when TBS would show stuff at 5 after the hour, 3:05, 4:05, or 3:35. Just in time to screw it up when you're watching Gilligan's Island and it goes off at 3:04 and you can't turn it over to watch something else. Why did the TBS do that? Why did they start it at 05? Anyway, this movie is also an all-star cast like the last one. And it's got names I'm sure you all know. Kirk Douglas. Who can't like Kirk Douglas? He plays the lead cowboy in this movie. Then you got Anne Margaret, the beautiful Anne Margaret. But the best of all, one you all know, Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's right, Arnold's in this movie, The Terminator. This is before The Terminator. And he plays a guy named Handsome Stranger. What a great name for a cowboy. But this is just wacky, silly, comedy Western movie. Kirk Douglas plays Cactus Jack. What a great name for a cowboy. And the story of one of this is simple. Arnold has to get Anne Margaret to, I think, California or somewhere for something her father's doing. Like, again, I haven't seen this in years. I don't remember all the details of the plot. And you don't really need the plot for this movie. All you have to know is they're trying to get out west, and Kirk Douglas, Cactus Jack, is trying to stop them, and he's not going to stop. And it's very cartoony. That's what I love about this. At one point, he comes up with this great idea to stop them. He finds this cave, and he paints a big circle on it, you know, kind of like a Roadrunner movie. And then here comes Arnold and them on their stagecoach, and he's waiting for them. And they go right through the cave. Oh, well, he painted just like in a cartoon. There's a couple of scenes like that. And one of the funniest characters ever, Paul Lynde, is in this, and he plays a Indian. And there's a quote I still use today. He doesn't have to be watched, he has to be looked after. I don't know why that's funny. And that was a horrible Paul Lynde impression, and I apologize to the Paul Lynde family. But this movie is called The Villain. Now, I've got it on DVD. I found it at Kmart for like $4. But this is one, like I said, used to be on TV all the time. But I hardly ever see it now. And no one I know really knows it. So, if you're out there and you're into really silly, stupid comedies, check this out, The Villain. Man, it is still funny. I bought it, me and my son watched it when I bought it a couple years ago. And he loved it also. And the end of it, the last 5 minutes, is straight out Warner Brothers funny. I mean, it is just crazy. The Villain. Check it out. Okay, number 4. This is more of a cult film that I think many of you might know. But I think if you're probably under 40, you might not. Because again, this is one, seems like every movie on my list is like this. This is a movie that they showed all the time on the pay channels like HBO, Cinemax, Showtime, Movie Channel. They still have the Movie Channel. Anyway, this one is called Night of the Comet. And it's the last man on Earth type movie. A comet comes, kills everybody except for these 2 girls in town. I mean, later throughout the movie you'll find out there's a few more people around. But essentially it's about these 2 people as the last 2 people on Earth. And it stars one of my 80s crushes, Catherine Mary Stewart. Man, I loved her. And I hardly even saw her in anything. I don't know why I was so in love with this girl back in the 80s. You probably best know her as the love interest to the main character in The Last Starfighter. And I don't even know what else I saw her in besides this and Night of the Comet. Probably a few things here and there. She might have been in that movie Mischief. I don't know, it's like some kind of teen romp movie. That was pretty actually funny, Mischief. I should have put that on the list. But Night of the Comet, she's beautiful. She always had beautiful eyes. So I think that's what got me to watch this. I was flipping around on TV and I saw her and I said, oh man, that's that girl from The Last Starfighter that I love. But this is just, again, just one of them silly teen movies. I don't remember much about the plot. I haven't seen it since the 80s, but I know I loved it every time it was on. I had to watch it. I've heard they're going to do a remake of it. Come on, do we have to have a remake of everything? What's next? Are they going to remake Flatliners? But if you're into those zombie type movies or Last Man on Earth type movies like I Am Legend, check it out, Night of the Comet. I'm sure this one's on DVD. I can't remember seeing it, but it's such a cult following. I'm sure it's out there. And I can't give a good review about it, what it's about, because I don't remember 100% everything about it. So, but I just know back then I loved this, and every time it was on, I had to watch it.
I'm not crazy, I just don't give a fuck.
Here's another one you may have seen or you may not have, especially if you're around my age. This is a more recent movie. Of course, it's 2000s. I'll call it recent. It's from 2001. Now, everyone talks about Swingers. Jon Favreau wrote Swingers, and it's a great movie. Anyone into independent film loves Swingers. I still hear it references. I still hear people say, "You money, baby." Or maybe just the kind of people I hang out with. But everybody I know who's into those 90s independent films, you know, Pulp Fiction, Clerks, Swingers, they all know Swingers. But I hardly have anybody talk about this one. 2001's Made. Jon Favreau and Vince Vaughn team up again, just like they did in Swingers. They're back. And, again, like Swingers, Jon Favreau wrote this. Except this time he's directing it. And I don't know why this one falls under the radar when people still mention Swingers. It's just as good as Swingers. It's a totally different movie. And yes, Vince Vaughn talks a little too much sometimes, but that's what you gotta love about him. In Swingers, he was a ladies' man. And in Made, he thinks he's the character from Swingers, kind of. He thinks he's that ladies' man, but he doesn't really get the women like he thinks he does in this movie. I remember a part on the airplane where he just keeps talking to the stewardess thinking he's charming her and really just pissing her off and ignoring the hell out of her. But I won't get too much into the plot about this. It's better going in not seeing it. But Jon Favreau's character, Bobby, he's a bodyguard for his girlfriend stripper, and he's working with Peter Falk. Peter Falk is absolutely great. Anybody remember Peter Falk from Columbo, from the 70s TV show Columbo? He's in this, and he works for Jon Favreau works for Peter Falk, and Vince Vaughn's character kind of works for him also. They kind of just give him odd jobs and stuff. Anyway, these guys are from New York. They sent them out to LA to kind of just be muscle for a drug deal going down. Sean Combs is also in this movie. You know, Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, whatever his name is now. And he's actually pretty good in this movie. You know, I think when I heard he was in it, I said, man, come on. And there's a great cameo by somebody who grew up watching early 90s cheesy TV. There's a cameo. The guy that plays himself in this movie. I'm not going to spoil it for you. But if you know 90s, stupid 90s TV shows, early 90s, late 80s, you'll get a kick out of the cameo in this movie. And please, someone let Jon Favreau direct. Please, someone let Jon Favreau direct a Star Wars movie. Please. Okay, what was that? Number 3? Made. Check it out.
You will not, for that matter, carry anything other than what I have just given you.
Keys?
What?
What about my house keys? Because that way I can get back in when I come in town. I could leave them with you, Max. Whatever you want to do, you're calling the shots.
You can carry your key.
Okay, number 2, and this is one I haven't seen either in years, although I did find it on DVD. I bought it, and I think I watched it, but that was probably in the late 90s, so I have seen it since the original era, but this is one of them, again, that came on a lot back in the 80s, and in fact, and I never hear anyone talk about it again. And I think just the concept alone is great, but I've heard they made it into a TV show in the last year or two, or maybe it's coming out next year. I think I remember in the summer hearing something about a TV show. This one's called Time After Time. Malcolm McDowell's in it. Mary Steenburgen's in it. Is it Steenburgen? Is that her name? Mary Steenburgen? Everybody loves her, right? She was in Back to the Future 3. Everybody knows that. And she was also in Clifford. It's also got David Warner in it. And David Warner plays Jack the Ripper. And what happens is Jack the Ripper steals H.G. Wells' time machine. And they go into present day. They leave the 1800s. And they go in, well, I say present day, but present when the movie came out, late 70s, 78, 79. H.G. Wells finds out he has to use his time machine. He has to go into the late 70s, track down Jack the Ripper, and bring him back to his original time period. I mean, who comes up with that shit? That's a genius idea for a movie, isn't it? I mean, right there, it sounds great. Now, Malcolm McDowell, I don't know if you know who he is. Clockwork Orange is a great movie he's in, but I learned about him in this movie Time After Time, and then he kind of fell off my radar until he popped up again in the Star Trek Generations movie. You know, he plays the bad guy in it. But we all know Malcolm. But we all know him, and Mary Steenburgen, we all know. David Warner. Is David Warner still alive? Man, he was the essential bad guy back in the 80s. I loved David Warner, whatever he was in. But if you're into time travel movies, science fiction movies, or just good thriller movies, check this out. Again, it's called Time After Time. And now it's number 1. And this one's from a director we all have heard of. We've probably seen a lot of his movies. Oliver Stone. Now I know what you're thinking. How can I bring up movies people don't talk about and bring up Oliver Stone? This is probably my second favorite Oliver Stone movie. That's right, my second. JFK is one of my favorite all-time movies. It's probably like Sideways in my top 5. I love the movie JFK. But this one he did before that, and I used to find it on TV like 2 or 3 in the morning when I was probably 13 or 14. And you would just click on it and you couldn't turn it. The movie's called Talk Radio. Whew, just lost power there for a second. Everybody still with me? It's still recording? Okay, my power just cut off there. Sorry about that. Okay, where was I? Let's start over. It's called Talk Radio. Eric, I can't think of his last name right now. He plays a guy named Barry. He's a radio guy. He does his own late night talk show. And this is on the eve before his show gets syndicated all across America. When you explain the plot to it, it doesn't sound good. But it's so well written and directed. And it's based on a play which Eric, I forget his name, I'm sorry. He wrote the play, starred in the play, and he came over to do the film with Oliver Stone. Just the dialogue and watching him speak, just speaking to that microphone and do his radio show. Well, they got some flashbacks to some events that happened before that, and he's dealing with racist calls and sexist calls and crazy people. People saying him a dead rat, and he just loses his mind talking to these people. And almost the whole movie takes place in that studio. And I can't help but think part of me doing these videos is because when I was a young teenager turning on this movie at 2 o'clock in the morning and being transformed into this world, it was just amazing. At that age, I'd never seen any movie like this. You know, I was into Pee Wee Herman, I was into Back to the Future, Star Wars, and this was my first kind of like adult movie. You know, not adult movie like that. It wasn't porn, but you know what I mean. It just blew my mind as like a 14, 15-year-old. Hey, there's movies like this out there. And after that, in the 90s, I really fell in love listening to AM radio. I was really, really into Art Bell's radio show, where he would spend all night from like 12 at night to 4 in the morning taking calls about UFOs and aliens and conspiracies and all that. And back in the 90s, I was really into that. And I would stay up all night, even if I had to work things. They listened to Art Bell, and I'm sure my love for Art Bell stemmed from when I watched talk radio. And I didn't know what talk radio even was for a long time. I just knew it was this movie I saw late at night and fell in love with. I knew nothing about it, and it wasn't until probably about the early 90s that I was able to track down what was that movie, asking people. You know, I would just walk up and down the street and say, what was that movie? What was that movie with that DJ in it? No one would know. They would always say, are you talking about American Graffiti? And I say, no, it's the movie with the DJ, and he's talking into the microphone, and it's all crazy. No one would know what I was talking about. And this was even hard for me to find on DVD. You would think Oliver Stone, it would be out there on DVD. It would have a special release and everything. I had to buy it online on DVD. I've never even seen it in the store. And I hear all the time about Oliver Stone's movies. Like I said, JFK is one of my favorite. Full Metal Jacket, Platoon. We can go all down the list. Yes, Oliver Stone's done a lot of great movies. And I'm not saying this is his best because I haven't seen all of his movies, but it's just one of my favorites of Oliver Stone's. My second favorite right after JFK. But I don't understand why I hear all this love from Oliver Stone, but no one mentions talk radio. So if you're an Oliver Stone fan, or just like I said about some other movies, something that's really, really written very well, check it out. It's called Talk Radio.
What do you want to talk about? Baseball scores? Your pet? Orgasms? You're pathetic. I despise each and every one of you.
That's 10 movies that I love, that I hardly hear anyone ever talk about. And like I said, I'm sure you've seen some on this list. Maybe you've seen all 10. And some of these movies, like I said, I haven't seen since way back in the 80s. Maybe they suck now. Let me know in the comments if they suck. And I'm just curious what you think. If there's some movies maybe that you like that you never hear anyone mention or talk about, let me know in the comments below. And then we'll be back to talk Star Wars, toys, anything we want to. It's the Junkman. Follow the new Twitter account, That Junkman, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Let's go watch Talk Radio.